Hello everyone, this video will cover Module 3. So Module 3 is the last module for the rhetorical analysis essay. This is where you will turn in the final draft of your essay. And so what you're going to do is this week really spend some time revising, editing, and proofreading that rough draft that you submitted for Module 2. So you're going to look back at that rough draft, see what you need to work on based on your own comments as well as mine, and then and make some changes to the file. So you have two assignments in Module 3, and that is to turn in the final draft and then to do a post-writing reflection. So I'll get to those in a minute. Don't forget, so in your self-edited draft back here, you submitted a file and then you should have provided yourself with some self-editing feedback under submission details and then that view feedback button. So you've done that, and then when I grade it, so when you see a grade in here is when my comments will show up as well. Now, if you go in here and you're like ready to work on that final draft and I haven't left any feedback yet, you can always send me an email. Sometimes I do get a little bit behind, especially with so many students in the class. And so if you send me an email, then I can kind of prioritize. I know that you're trying to work on it now. So that's something to think about, but you want to make sure that you are viewing feedback, and you can also use your self-editing comments and your own just ability to revise and proofread if that helps. You can use the online writing lab if you want to. Send it earlier in the week. They do usually need about 2 business days to respond, and I've got all the information here for using the online writing lab. We use this BrainFuse online tutoring button, and so if you've used that before, it's pretty easy to just submit an essay and then get a response. The response comes back in BrainFuse, so you can take a look at that. Or you can go, if you're near the Iola campus, they have tutors there. You can always ask a friend or someone to look it over. So there's a lot of options for getting ideas for how to proofread, revise, and edit your essay. So a couple of other things in here. The criteria is here as well for the essay. So just, make sure that you go over it again. Sometimes I see students will they don't never look at this page, and so when I go to read their essay, I'm like, did you actually read the assignment? Because this has nothing to do with it. So making sure that you're reading over the assignment, that you've got an appropriate article that will work, because it does need to come out of the textbook. So just as a reminder, in the textbook, we're in part 5, this Real Situations for Real Writing. This is the new Harbrace guide, and then each of these is there's separate chapters, and then each one is an article, so you can kind of expand that list a little bit and find an article. And then you want to make sure that your essay is really focused on the author's argumentative technique. So what do you see them using as a part of their argument, not the content of it necessarily. So I'm not interested in what their specific points are that they're making, as opposed to really what we're looking for is how well did they make those points? What sort of techniques did they use to make those points? So just keep that in mind. That's the biggest mistake students make. And I've got this little infographic there to help you out. And so the other thing I have in here to help you is I do have information about MLA formatting and then the works cited entry. So don't forget, the very last page of your essay under the text is going to be your works cited entry. You can copy and paste this if you want to. So I just did this for Margaret Mead's The Changing Significance of Food. And so you can see all of them, I think, just show up on one page. So it's just a single page number. And so you can copy and paste this, and then you'll change the author and the title and then whichever page it shows up on. But the rest of it will be the same. So that makes it a little bit easier for you. And then MLA formatting requirements. Most of you probably have used MLA before, but this is just a reminder, kind of a checklist of what to do. And then making sure that everything's, in there correctly. And then you have the spot to turn in the final draft. So the final draft is needs to be significantly different from your rough draft. That's why when the rough draft assignment, the directions tell you to leave the errors in there, because that's what I want to see. I need to see the process you go through from making a really rough copy of your essay to a clean copy of your essay. So I need to see those changes that have been made. And so this is going to be a new version of your essay, so new file, but you're going to make those corrections. So things that I've suggested, things that you've noticed, everything's going to be changed in your file, and it will be now a new copy of your essay. You can see at the bottom as the rubric that I'm going to use to grade it. And the important thing to remember is that the majority of your grade is actually the revision part. So what I've done is recently is just a lot of this is to combat AI use, but some of it is really just to emphasize that process, which is the most important thing. And that is to really emphasize it's okay if you have errors still, that's fine, especially naturally occurring human errors. So that's why it's over here in the excellence category. I'll note them for you, and they're just reminders. Those are what you need to keep working on. So if you see a couple of comma splices in there, you can look up what comma splices are, and you can try to avoid them in the future. That's what I want. You can get perfect score on writing as long as you are making an effort to change the rough draft to the final draft and really work on making those improvements to your writing, and making sure that you know things are, I'm actually seeing that process that you're going through. So just keep that in mind. If you don't make any changes, or like you just didn't bother to turn in a rough draft, or I don't have any part of the process, you're not going to get any credit for the writing. All you'll get is credit for doing the other parts. Most of the time, if students lose any points on essays, it's going to be content-wise. So it's basically not following the criteria. So just make sure you double check the criteria to make sure you've got everything. The last thing that you're going to do once you are finished and you've submitted that final draft, then you have a post-writing assignment to do. The post-writing assignment is really just to reflect on what you did in the essay itself and kind of think about what are you going to do next. So for this assignment in particular, you only have two options. You can do an audio reflection, or you can do a Zoom conference with me. Audio reflection is fairly simple. You go into Canvas. When you hit Start Assignment, you can see at the bottom, it just gives you the option to record media. You allow it to access your camera. I don't know if it'll do it since I'm already using the camera. It's going to go, and then it'll just hit record, and then it will save that recording. Or you can record yourself on another program and then upload that media. That's fine. But typically using the one through Canvas is the easiest way, because then that way there's no issues with files not transferring. So I want to hear you talk about it. I really don't care. Like it can be the most rambly video that you've ever made. That's fine. I'm just interested in listening to you talk about what you enjoyed about the essay, what worked well, what didn't work, what you're going to have to do differently in the future, all of that kind of thing. So I really enjoy listening to students talk about their work, and it makes it easier to grade, because then I know how important some things and some aspects of your writing are to you. The other option is to do a Zoom conference with me. I'm trying to link my Outlook calendar. It's not working, but I'm going to try to link it so that you can see what my schedule is. But basically, I'm pretty open most of the week. You send me an email. We'll figure out when is a good time to meet, 10-15 minutes maybe, and we'll just talk about your essay, and that gives you a chance to talk to me directly and then also ask questions if you need to. So that's the last assignment. In the future, I'll probably have a written option for the post-writing, but right here at the beginning, I really like just talking to students or listening to students talk about their writing. It just helps me when I sit down to grade it. So if you have any questions about any of the assignments, feel free to send me an email. Otherwise, have a great week.